What's up, everyone? Welcome to RotoGrinders Sunday Night Football Pre-Lock Show. We got a nice showdown slate. We got the Steelers. We got the Packers. My name is TJ Zwarych, helping you break it all down. Joining me, we got Tasteful Tides, Tim Buell. Tim, how you doing?
Yeah, that was, I think, the worst main slate ever. My teams were so bad. I mean, it was that was pretty dreadful. Don Easy and I are talking in the YouTube chat. Jonathan Taylor's got to be 10K next week, like at least. I mean, he's out of this world. So yeah, that slate was pretty bad for me. I'm hoping to get some of my funds back here on Showdown.
I surprisingly salvaged about half of my entry fees back, which surprised me a lot considering I had over 60% Bijan, 50% Christian McCaffrey. Got my stacks right. Did not get my running backs right. No, I only had one lineup with Breece Hall. I had a lot of Jonathan Taylor, but didn't have any. Who was it? Saquon Barkley. Few guys really exploded today on that main slate that I just didn't have. So managed to salvage some entry fees back because of hitting with stacks. Hurt stack went pretty well. Bo Nick stack went pretty well. But too much McCaffrey, too much Bijan Robinson. Thankfully, we have a showdown slate that we can get it all back with. Tim, what's your read on tonight's game? Not even from like a showdown perspective, but just in general. We got two teams that I feel like before the year we viewed these as really good defenses, but Green Bay has been struggling recently. Steelers have been struggling on defense all year long. Green Bay 3-point favorite in this one. How do you think this one shakes out?
Yeah, these are two teams, like you mentioned, that we traditionally think are good defensively, and I'll tell you what, the Steelers definitely are not. I mean, they've had a couple of matchups this year that have been advantageous for them, that they've done pretty well, but anytime they've gotten any kind of talent against them, they've just been horrible. So, like, I'm not, personally, I mean, right now it's Packers -3 and 46.5. I'm seeing. Personally, I'm kind of leaning the over in this game. I don't have a real hot take on a side, but I think I do like the over here. So it's definitely going to be, one of those games where, we're just going to want to, get some exposure to some of these. Hopefully we can find some edges here on some lower owned plays, especially at the captain position. That's what I'm noticing, like first look, like specifically talking about Showdown. Like I'm seeing a lot of captains that I think are going really under owned, and I'd like to see people take some shots on them when they're building their tournament teams.
I'm very interested to see if we are on the same page because I built my single entry lineup today, Tim. And the lineup as a whole, pretty chalky, but the captain is not. The captain is not going to be today. So let's dive into some of these guys. Let's talk about that captain position first. And we have Josh Jacobs projecting as the player with the highest optimal rate there at the position today. Makes sense. He gets 30-ish touches a game. They're expected to be favored. Jaylen Warren after that surprised me because it's been really tough to run on Green Bay this year, but he is a very good pass catching back, so I guess that makes sense. Some of these pass catchers for Green Bay look affordable at the captain position, like a Dobbs, a Kraft, a Golden. Who are you, from a single entry perspective here, going with as like the optimal captain? And then who is your pivots dependent on, like, maybe you're not going optimal because of their ownership?
Yeah, so I think optimal. I'm leaning like Jaylen Warren or Josh Jacobs. That's I'm talking like small field cash game type single entry type contests when I'm saying optimal. So I'm kind of leaning Jaylen Warren, Josh Jacobs, something like that. Possibly Jordan Love. But I think Jordan Love, for me anyway, is probably better played in the flex. I already see people talking about the captain that I like in GPP, and that would be Tucker Kraft. I ran Sims before the show. I absolutely love him here. I got to him and 26% at captain. That's more than double my next highest exposure at the captain position. I absolutely love Tucker Kraft here. I think he's going to be going under-owned here at the captain spot. I don't think he's going to get steamed that much in captain, at least. Maybe he's popular in flex, but I don't think he's going to be all that popular at the captain position. So I do like him quite a bit. Romeo Doubs, I think, is interesting. He's another guy that I think that in GPPs you could definitely take shots on Doubs in the captain spot. So those two pass catchers for Green Bay, I absolutely love. It's going to be interesting. I think DK Metcalf is another one that's going to be really low owned that I think has a monster ceiling here in this game. So I do like a lot of these pass catchers. I personally think, like in larger field stuff, like to get contrarian, and that's to stay away from some of these running backs in larger field stuff at the captain spot.
I don't mind doing that whatsoever. I personally am going with Aaron Rodgers as my single entry captain today. We're projecting him for like sub 5% ownership at that captain position. I think if I were doing a cash game, something like that, strictly optimal, I would go Josh Jacobs as my guy. But ownership considered, I really like Aaron Rodgers today. Don't mind the Tucker Kraft call one bit, but Rodgers is going to be my guy, either hopefully having them come from behind, or even just in general, this Green Bay pass defense recently has struggled. And so hopefully we can hop on that a little bit, have Aaron Rodgers get the ball out of his hands really quick, have himself a big day today. Any of these other lower owned captain options you'd want to touch on a little bit? I think I do have a couple Jonnu Smith captains, and I might even have one Kenneth Gainwell captain team.
Yeah, that's definitely interesting. I think if I was, say I'm building like a 3-max setting, I don't think I would go. I think I would only consider 6 captains. I think for me, it would be Kraft, Dobbs, Metcalf, then probably Warren, Josh Jacobs, and Aaron Rodgers. I don't think I'm going to be getting to any Jonnu, at least in the captain. I'm not going to be getting to any Matthew Golden. You said you were going to play Kenneth Gainwell in the captain spot, TJ. You were thinking about
one of my 20 lineups. I went there. I built a lineup that I actually really like how it looks outside of the Gainwell at captain portion, and then I'm just kind of thinking of, it's very Green Bay heavy outside of the Gainwell at captain. So I'm kind of thinking it's a game script of Green Bay dominates. It's an onslaught, and then Gainwell catches a bunch of passes in garbage time.
Yeah, I mean, I don't mind that at all. I mean, Gainwell's definitely a pretty solid points per dollar play, at least at the flex, and then we'll talk about that. But yeah, I mean, it's definitely, I don't know. I don't think I can get to Gainwell at captain, at least in the contest that I play. But it's definitely, I think he's a good value play.
Does your thought process shift at all over on FanDuel, where I think things are fairly similar over there? Like if you look at the Sims projections on FanDuel, they're almost exactly the same, with Josh Jacobs 1, Jalen Warren 2, Tucker Kraft number 3. Looks like Kraft will be going even lower owned at the MVP position over there. And based on our projections, it looks like Jordan Love going significantly over owned at the MVP position, but Aaron Rodgers maybe not the case.
Yeah, and just one thing to consider on FanDuel, Christian Watson is not in the player pool, so that's gonna drive up some of these pass catchers for Green Bay's ownership just a little bit, I think. So that's just one thing to consider. The other thing over on FanDuel, just from a macro perspective, Calvin Austin is cheaper over on FanDuel than he is on DK. So I think he's going to be pretty popular, at least at the flex spot. So I think that's one, like, a little bit of an important difference there between the two sites. Yeah, Jordan Love is definitely going to be the most popular captain. He's showing up in tons of our optimals right now. I don't mind the play, but if you just want to get a little bit different here, again, I really don't mind Tucker Kraft at 15K. gonna be pretty low owned in the MVP. So I think he's an interesting flyer. And Romeo Dobbs at a 12.9 over on FanDuel again. I don't think he's gonna be super highly owned in the MVP. So I think those are two really good contrarian ways of getting different on FanDuel. I think next highest owned captain. Who do you think it will be other than Love? Do you think it'll be Jaylen Warren? Is the next most popular, or Aaron Rodgers?
Yeah, I guess probably Love, then Jacobs. Then I think Jaylen Warren will come in higher than Aaron Rodgers over there. I just don't really think anybody wants to play against Aaron Rodgers. Everybody thinks of Green Bay as this big defensive juggernaut because of how they started the year. And they probably still are very good, but I think Aaron Rodgers is going to be the guy that ends up flying under the radar and nobody goes there just because they don't want to target this Green Bay defense.
Yeah, 21.9 for Josh Jacobs. That's a pretty big price tag. So I mean, that might be tough for people to jam him in, just because we don't have any like super cheap value on FanDuel. I mean, we do have a couple decent value pieces, but they're not like dirt cheap.
Let's pivot over to talking about the flex position and with the quarterback specifically to start things out. I'm very interested in what you think the priorities are here with these quarterbacks at flex, because the running backs are kind of priced up expensive with the quarterbacks on this slate. And so it seems like two of Josh Jacobs, Jaylen Warren, Jordan Love, Aaron Rodgers usually fit in most lineups. But three, unless you're going with a cheap captain, probably tough to get there.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be tough to play both QB1 and RB1 from either team in the same lineup, that's how it should be, right? I mean, if that were easy, then just the pricing would be too soft. Unless you might be able to do that if you're playing like Kenneth Gainwell at the captain spot, but I think that might be the only way that you can do it. So yeah, if we're talking about quarterbacks to start off with, Jordan Love is definitely the safer of the two options. Jordan Love might be our safest path to raw points on this slate. He definitely should be in your single entry lineup. I wouldn't bother fading him. He's been rushing the ball a little bit more too. So I mean, he can get you points that way. So definitely, I'm pretty high on Love. He's going to be around 70%. I might personally if I was building at 20, I might just go 20 out of 20 with Jordan Love, like with a couple in the captain, but the rest just in flex. Aaron Rodgers, he's definitely fine. He's not going to be, as mobile at this point in his career. So, I mean, he's only really going to get you points in one way. So not as safe as Jordan Love, but I still think he's a really strong play. He's coming in around 60%. I might just match the field with Aaron Rodgers here, and see where that gets me. But I don't personally want to captain either one of these players on DK.
I do like captaining Rodgers just because he's projecting for that super low ownership, but I totally understand the sentiment from just like a lineup construction standpoint. In flex, I prefer Love over Rodgers if I'm picking one of them. How are you planning to handle Josh Jacobs and Jaylen Warren here at the flex position? I'm personally playing a lot of Jacobs, going significantly underweight on Jaylen Warren.
So I'm currently fading both of them, which is terrifying. It's super risky, but I feel like that you just have to take chances in Showdown. You're looking for outlier outcomes when you're playing Showdown, so that's purely the reason why I'm doing it. I'm not saying Josh Jacobs or Jaylen Warren are bad plays. I'm simply just taking a risk here and fading them. We've seen some inconsistency with how they've used Jaylen Warren. Sometimes they just use him as the bell cow, and sometimes they start sharing the backfield with Kenneth Gainwell. I'm kind of hoping that he's not going to be like the main guy, and I'm also hoping that Green Bay can kind of just kind of keep him at bay, I guess. So that's just one of the reasons why I'm fading Jaylen Warren. And Josh Jacobs, I kind of debated. I was like, I either want to captain him or just fade him. And so I landed on Tucker Kraft, the captain, just because I think he allows me to do more with my team. So I'm fading Josh Jacobs. But I mean, I am fading a lot of projected raw points between the two of those running backs. So I'm not crazy about it, but that's where I'm landing tonight.
All right, and then I have kind of talked about Gainwell a lot already. I'm very high on him today at that cheap price tag. But do you think you can play Caleb Johnson at 400 on DraftKings?
I mean, if you really just want to jam in everybody and you hope that you get, a point from him, what is he? Is he 200 or 400? Not that it really matters that much, but
I believe 4.
Yeah, he's 400. Yeah, I mean, maybe you can get a point out of him. What about? Well, I mean, I don't want to get too far ahead here. I think there might be another cheapie that I'm considering, but I don't know. I don't really like getting to Caleb.
Let's switch over to the wide receiver position, and we can kind of carry it over. If you have questions, get them into the RotoGrinders live stream Discord chat. Get them into the YouTube chat. One of these questions I want to address right now is from Mario Dunyeezy. DK, Metcalf, or Jaylen Warren if you're picking one of
them? I guess either way. I was wondering if that was gonna be flex or captain, but I guess either way I'm gonna go DK Metcalf. But if that's a captain question, I would definitely go DK Metcalf.
Metcalf for me there as well. I'm gonna be light on Metcalf today. I think this is gonna be a lot of quick passes from Aaron Rodgers today, a lot of the tight ends, a lot of the running backs. But in terms of Metcalf or Warren at the captain, or even at the flex, I prefer Metcalf there as well. I am with you. What about some of these other receivers? Because for Pittsburgh, it's Metcalf up top, Calvin Austin in the middle, and then nobody else, basically. They don't really have a wide receiver 3 because of how much they use 2 tight ends. Metcalf, let's talk about the Pittsburgh ones first. Metcalf, Austin, and then kind of the cheap garbage. Is there anything you're getting to in bunches as a priority, or is it just one of those things that it's like, yeah, if I land on Metcalf, sure. If I land on Calvin Austin, sure. These other guys, probably don't need them.
I'll tell you, these really, really cheap Pittsburgh wide receivers, Skronik, Roman Wilson, I don't have any interest in those guys. I don't even know. I'd probably have to get over 20 lineups before I'd even consider either one of them. So really, like you said, Pittsburgh's wide receiver 3 is likely Jonnu Smith, which is a tight end. So these cheap wide receivers, I just don't really like tonight. These cheap Pittsburgh wide receivers, I don't really like tonight. It's mainly just Calvin Austin and DK Metcalf for me, and that's it in terms of the wide receivers. On the Green Bay side, it's gonna be interesting. We're gonna, they had a quote. The Packers coach said that Christian Watson is going to be eased back in. We take them at their word. He's 6,400. That seems really expensive. If somebody's really going to be eased back in. So I'm probably out on him. Romeo Doubs is definitely going to be your safest option out of these wide receivers. I like him in flex, and I like him at captain quite a bit. So he's definitely one of my more, I'm pretty high on Romeo Doubs tonight. Matthew Golden would be the pivot away from Doubs, or you could play both of them in a Love captain lineup or something like that.
Doubs and Golden are definitely the 2 receivers I'm prioritizing today as well, either at the captain or at the flex. I think I like Golden a little bit better, but those are the 1A and 1B guys for me. This does feel like a date in my perspective that I think Golden catches a deep one, or at least they're going to be giving him a lot of tries on these deep ones. A lot of man defense, no Wicks in the lineup today. And if I am taking a shot on a cheap receiver, it's one of these Green Bay guys instead of one of these Pittsburgh guys. It's a Malik Heath. It's a Savion Williams. Even though I'm not really interested in those guys, if I am taking a shot, it's going to be on one of them. tight ends are where this thing really, really gets interesting because we obviously have Tucker Kraft up top. We've talked about him lots. Love him as a flex. Love him as a captain today. You're going with him as your single entry captain. But these other ones, Jonnu Smith, Pat Fryermuth, Dwayne Washington, you can basically just, I can't even say flip a coin because it'd have to be a 3-sided coin. But it pretty could just like an equal chance of it being any one of these guys with maybe Jonnu as the one it's the most likely for, Dwayne Washington the one that it's the least likely for, but still Darnell Washington, not Dwayne Washington story, but still all three of these guys look like pretty great options today.
Yeah, if you're building up multiple lineups, this is where you should be taking advantage of spreading out here because the tight ends really on both of these teams I think are fantastic plays. And definitely it's hard to just choose one, especially on the tight end, especially on the Pittsburgh side. So it is pretty difficult. We saw Fryermuth absolutely go off. I feel like that is not the most realistic outcome, but I mean that just goes to show you that really anything can happen here. And if you play that kind of combination uniquely, you can win big money. So definitely get Fryermuth in some of your builds. Jonnu Smith at least for the Pittsburgh tight ends, he's the safest. But I mean, I could really see playing two of these tight ends in the same build, just because they're pretty easy to get to. They're really strong values on this slate. So, and in case you haven't heard, it's National Tight End Day. So, it's I just think that they're really strong values tonight. Don't forget about Luke Musgrave also, just as like a really, really cheap option at 1,600 on DK. I think he can be part of your GPP portfolio. And then, yeah, Tucker Kraft, he's my favorite captain overall in the entire slate. And I think that he's a really good after the catch type guy. Like he almost gets his points like a traditional wide receiver would. So I absolutely love Tucker Kraft today.
All right. We have a question in chat asking about the kickers at the captain position. I like the kickers quite a bit in flex today. Probably Boswell as my primary choice over Brandon McManus because it's McManus's first game back. But both of them, I think, very, very viable. What are your thoughts on the two kickers today at captain or flex?
At captain or flex, definitely. I'm just going to pull up the sims that I ran. Got 3% Chris Boswell. I did not get any of the Packers kicker. And then I'm not getting as much in sims as I thought I would. I really like some of that mid-range price range. Kind of like the Calvin Austin tier. You got Jonnu Smith there as well. So it's definitely kind of like a competitive tier this on tonight's game. Yeah, so I kind of like some of these tight ends more, and I kind of like Calvin Austin more over these kickers.
I think I like the kickers a little bit better than Calvin Austin, but definitely for the price, I like the tight ends better as well. Any other players we want to mention before we give a focus to questions, give our play of the night, the play that we think is going to break the slate today, and then we'll get out of here.
Yeah, I mean, we just had another quick question in YouTube chat. How do we feel about Jaylen Warren? I'll just go over that again. I'm personally fading him. I'm playing one single entry team. It's a risky fade. I'm not saying he's a bad play. I'm just going in a different direction. When you're building a showdown lineup, you're trying to tell yourself a story, and you're trying to correlate and match things with a certain game script. So that's just what I'm doing tonight. He is projected outstanding, so it's definitely risky, but I'm taking that chance tonight. So it's kind of up to your own risk tolerance and kind of up to how you feel the game's going to go tonight. But tonight I am fading him in single entry.
A risk that I am taking as well. I am playing 20 lineups today and a single entry, and I have 0 Jaylen Warren in all 21 of those lineups today. So no Jaylen Warren for me, Before we get to our coin by chop, feel it in the plums play, our favorite play of the night, the play we think is going to break the slate, I do want to remind everybody that it is a great time to get yourself. I mean, maybe wait till later in the week, but in general, it's a great time to get yourself an NFL 3-day pass, $9.99 for only 3 days. You get access to SimLabs, you get access to Lineup HQ, the whole shebang, everything for 3 days, only $9.99, cheaper than you'll pay for your lunch. Or if you're wanting to play more than just NFL, you can get yourself Combo Pro for $79.99. That's only $5 more than NFL, $40 off your first month. You get access to content, tools, projections, SimLabs for NFL, MLB, NBA, college football, PGA, MMA, and of course, Tim, one of our favorite sports to play DFS with, NHL. Tim, you and the NHL crew, Dane and the whole group, doing an incredible job on the projections, on the tools, and in the Discord so far. I keep touting it as much as I can. I've played 9 days of NHL DFS so far, made money on 7 of them. Haven't hit a big win yet. Was really close yesterday. I had a great day, but I had like 4 points from my goalie. But nonetheless, NHL product, absolutely crushing it. Get yourself some Combo Pro, play some NHL DFS. Tim, who's your feel in the plums play of the night? Who's breaking the slate?
I'm going with Tucker Kraft and captain. That's somebody that I've been really consistent on as soon as I started building out teams about an hour ago. Someone that's simming really well in SimLabs. So yeah, Tucker Kraft in the captain. I think you could even take shots on him in the MVP on FanDuel. So he is my field in the plums play of the day.
I'm going Aaron Rodgers as my guy today. I think he's going to turn back the clock against his old team, and we're going to see a big day from Aaron Rodgers. They pressure the quarterback a ton. I think we're going to see him getting rid of the ball quickly, have himself a nice day with all of these tight ends that he's going to be throwing the ball to. So Aaron Rodgers for me, pair him with a whole bunch of tight ends, spend up for Josh Jacobs and Tucker Kraft, maybe, and then one of Golden or Dobbs on the other side. Mwah, you got yourself a nice team. Take some questions here. Going to the RotoGrinders live stream Discord chat first. Then I'm going to the YouTube chat second. YouTube, you're watching us live, hit that like button. Can you fade Josh Jacobs and Jalen Warren and just play the passing game in a large field GPP?
That's Tim, what I'm doing. That's exactly my lineup. So that's what I'm doing. I think you can, and it's possible that you even should. So yeah, but I mean, it's definitely risky. It's definitely risky, but that's exactly what I'm doing.
From Alexander the Don, is there any interest in a Romeo Dobbs as captain for DK Cash? No,
not for cash. Not for cash.
Great tournament play,
it's a great.
Cash, you just play the closest to an optimal lineup, or maybe a couple pivots if there's something you feel strongly about. But you're definitely not running somebody like Dobbs at the captain in Cash. It's probably just Josh Jacobs from a cash game perspective. It's tough to get the high end spends in. With that being said, what high end spends are you most comfortable fading in DK Cash? That's got to be the Pittsburgh ones, right? Basically,
it's DK Metcalf. I would be okay fading in Cash.
And then Jalen Warren.
Yeah. I mean, I might consider fading Aaron Rodgers. I don't know. It's Warren or Rodgers, I guess. I guess it's Warren, but it's pretty close between the two. But definitely out of the high end, it's Metcalf.
Is it idiotic to put Boswell as MVP for FanDuel Cash? For Cash, yes. It's like, for
definitely Cash.
Always do crazy things in a showdown tournament, but for Cash, no, you don't want to be doing things like that. McManus or Boswell, if you're picking one, Tim.
I would, I think I'd go McManus.
How do we feel about Jalen Warren? We talked about that one already. We are both fading Jalen Warren today. Is Christian Watson not in the player pool, not on FanDuel? He is on DraftKings, overpriced, but he's there on FanDuel, not so much. What do we think about kickers as captain? We talked about that one a little bit as well already. More so on it in the flex. It's viable on a showdown slate, but we both think there's going to be some points scored in this one. So we're not really on the kickers at the captain position on DraftKings or the MVP position on FanDuel. We do just have a couple other people still typing in the Discord, so I want to give them a chance to get those questions in before we get out of here. Give you some time to grab some food, reheat some pizza from when you ordered for the Blue Jays game the night before, even though the game did not go as as you hoped. Yamamoto was nice with it. Jeez. But
he's looked really good.
Yeah, he has looked really, really good. But unfortunately, we're going back to the LA with it tied up as opposed to up 2-0, but it was still a good game. Love or Rogers of the two for favorite captain?
I'd go Love.
I think I'm going to go Rogers for that personally, just because of the low ownership, but I do definitely think Love certainly has the higher chance of being optimal. Smash the like button on your way out. Thank you so much, everyone, for tuning in today. Good luck in all your contests. We'll be back tomorrow. We got Monday Night Football. I think it's Chop and I tomorrow night. We got NBA tomorrow for a show as well. So lots of content coming your way. Hit the notification bell so you don't miss out. Thank you so much for tuning in on behalf of... Wait, we got one more question. Who is your favorite punt play on DraftKings, Tim?
I guess if we're defining a punt as
cheaper than Kenneth Gainwell.
Cheaper than Kenneth Gainwell?
Because obviously Gainwell's the clear answer, but if you're going cheaper than that.
If you're going cheaper than Gainwell, Luke Musgrave.
Yeah, Musgrave, totally fair. I think it's Savion Williams for me, but no problem going Luke Musgrave there either. All right, now that'll do it. Thank you so much for tuning in, everyone. On behalf of myself and Tim, we will see you next time. Good luck in your contests. Peace.